And I turned to see the voice that spake with me. And being turned, I saw 7 golden candlesticks. Verse 13. And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks are one like unto the Son of Man. Hi there, YouTube. This is John Hampton with Roland Television, and we're continuing our series on the book of Revelation today with our 7th lesson called Golden Candlesticks and the Man. And this is from Revelation chapter 1. We're still in Revelation chapter 1. We're doing verses 12 through 15 today. Chapter 1, verse 12. And I turned to see the voice that spake with me, and being turned, I saw 7 golden candlesticks. Verse 13. And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks are one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle. Verse 14. His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire. And in verse 15, and his feet were like unto brass, as they had burned in a furnace, and his voice was the sound of many waters. So basically, he's trying to see who's been talking to him the last few verses, and he turns to see who's speaking with him, and he sees 7 golden candlesticks. And once again, as you know, anything with 7 is a number of perfection. It's also widely held that 7 is the number of God, his personal number. And so, 7 golden candlesticks. And you notice also, this is symbolized throughout the Bible. In the Old Testament, they had a golden candlestick in the temple with 7 places for candles on it. And in our modern day celebrations of Hanukkah, the Jewish feast of Hanukkah, they have a 7-pronged candlestick that burns for 7. They start lighting the first one on the first night, and all of them lined up go through the 7th night. So this is something that's been symbolic throughout biblical history. So now we go on to the next verse, on verse 13. And in verse 13, he sees someone standing in the middle of the candlesticks, like unto the Son of Man. This would be Jesus, the Son of Man, Son of God. Both terms are symbolic to Jesus as our Savior, and certainly can tell you that this is the one that was standing in the midst of the candlesticks, is one that's talking to John the Revelator here in this segment. And so, now of course, he had a garment on that went all the way down to his feet, had a golden girdle around his waist. His head and his hairs are white like wool, meaning that his hair was solid white, and he as white as snow, to be exact. His eyes were like a flame of fire, meaning his eyes, and you could see his eyes, they were like lit up like flames of fire in them. And his head and his feet were brass, as if he'd walked through the furnace. And Jesus walked through the flames of hell during the time he was in the grave, in the ground, to unlock the door of salvation for us so that we can be saved and won't have to go to hell when we die. And of course, it also says that the last little part of verse 15, continuing where I left off, his voice was the sound of many waters, meaning that when Jesus spoke, it was like the sound of a rushing water, or a rushing waterfall, many waters. Now next week, we're going to see John the Revelator interact with the Son of God in the next few verses that we study, so tune in for that. In the meantime, you can know this Jesus. I've got a link in the corner of the screen right now for our Romans Road to Salvation study, which walks you through the steps of what it takes to be saved. Go ahead and look at that today if you're not already a Christian. In the meantime, this is John Hampton with Revelator Television. Have a great day and God bless.